So a couple disclaimers. I put a lot of love into this, and I hope that it sinks in. And I'm going to start talking real fast because I've got a ton of stuff to go through. You guys have questions. You guys have concerns. The first time ever that I actually get to say this is we're going to be recording this. So I'm very happy that we're going to do that. We'll edit it, and we'll put it back up on the internet so you guys can always go back through it, okay? But again, if you guys have questions or concerns, if you have it, somebody else probably does too, so ask away, okay? Just raise your hand and I'll stop. Okay. All right, let's do this. Of course, tonight is all about detox, and we are going to do literally how to renovate your system. We're not going to use just a fuzzy term of what detoxes can be. We're really going to go in deep. But first, before we do that, of course, I always want to talk about our upcoming events. Our next event is our nutrition talk, which is going to be, I think it's next Wednesday. It's the third Wednesday of every month. Is that next Wednesday? That's next Wednesday. So we'll be up at Whole Foods next week doing our nutrition talk. And we do that with the local Naples Family Birth Center. That's our Nutrition Talk 101. So that's next Wednesday. Next Tuesday, which I think I have these in the reverse order. I'm sorry, the Saturday after our nutrition talk is our grocery store tour. We do that over Lucky's. That's the third Saturday of every month. So if you haven't been on one of those, we teach you exactly how to shop. And then this is the one that I really wanted to get to. How many of you are concerned at all about the Zika stuff and the chemicals that they're being sprayed? Really, there's only a couple hands on that one? Okay, so I am ultra concerned, so I'll raise my hands, both my hands for more of you guys, okay? So my friends, and they've got banners on the back doors there, Andreas Roth and David Chapman are going to join me here next Tuesday, and we're going to talk about a lot of the chemical side of things that's happening and a lot of the fear that's happening as well from Zika, okay? So hopefully you guys can come. That's going to be more of a community-based thing. All right, you guys ready to get started? Mm-hmm. All right, let's do this. What do you guys think? Is it really normal to have as much sickness and disease that we're having in our country right now? You know, of course, I put these icons on here. A lot of people are weight loss resistant. They have a hard time losing weight. A lot of people have digestive issues. A lot of people have aches and pains, right? A lot of people have blood panels that don't measure up, right? High cholesterol, high blood pressure. Raise your hand if you know somebody that has any of these things. The medications that we're taking for these things, right? Skin conditions, trouble sleeping, trouble falling asleep, trouble staying asleep, right? When you do wake up, you feel terrible, you're tired, making it through the whole workday. How many of you know people that have this stuff or experiencing yourself? Yeah, what do you guys think? Is that normal? Okay, I love this. I said this last night, and I'm going to use the same term. We are literally being trained to look through a very specific lens in the world, aren't we? From the magazines to the newspapers to the television ads, we are trained to look through a very specific lens, and that lens is perfectly normal to be sick, all right? And I just want to say that nothing, I'm going to put this on camera, nothing pisses, oh, I'm sorry, Ben. Nothing pisses me off more. I'm sorry, that's a bad word, Ben. Don't say that. Nothing makes me more mad, okay? Nothing makes me more mad, okay? And so many of us are actually starting to believe this, right? And we have people coming into our office that say, my headaches are bad, but they're not as bad as my neighbor, right? My blood pressure is bad, but I just take a tiny little dose. I take a half a dose for my blood pressure, right? We start to justify things, and it's this lens that we are trained to look through. So I'm going to challenge you guys to start changing that lens. You are created to be healthy. Health is the normal state of your body. If there's something wrong, there's a reason why it's happening, right? I love this quote by Anthony Robbins. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you always have gotten, okay? So we're going to challenge you to do something different. Challenge yourself to do something different. Now, to speak on that topic, I want to welcome Dario to come speak. Okay, I'm sorry, you guys. We had to change our plans tonight, okay? Dario is going to school to be a firefighter and an EMS. So I think we should actually give Dario a round of applause for that. His class schedule changed. I think that's so cool. Noble cause, and he gets a check off my book for that, right? So he has anatomy and physiology, he said tonight. So I did record a video for him. I went up to his office and asked him and his co-owner, Matt, about CrossFit Naples and what it takes to really change your mindset, not just in exercise, but in all areas of life. Here's the video. I didn't do the video. My slideshow actually started to get longer and longer and longer, so I don't want to keep you guys here all night, okay? So I don't know, it just maybe worked out for the better, but I'm going to edit that video and I will post that up. I might use it in another talk. We'll probably ideally get Dario to come speak to us live one of these days, but I will end up posting that talk here sooner or later. Dario, officially on camera, we all love you. Everybody say hi to Dario on the camera. Love you, Dario. Okay, so you guys forgive me on that? We can go forward? Okay, cool. So again, detox, let's get into it. This is not meant to be a talk on all the different poisons and toxins that we come into. This is going to be a lot deeper than that. I hope I've got your blessing to do that. We've done talks on all of that. Poisons are constantly, we're constantly inundated with them. Anybody want to give me any examples? Throw it out. Beautiful. What else? Come on, you guys. I have to wake you up. What do I have to do? What? Glyphosate, beautiful. So we can get it from our food, we can get it from our house, we can get it from our personal care products. You guys are drinking all organic smoothies tonight, so we can get it from all city water, all over the place, okay? This is not a talk that's meant to go through all those things and how to change it. That's for another day. Most of us are toxic right now, and I think we just have to accept that fact. So tonight, the whole goal is to teach you how to get rid of those things and the damage it's already done to prevent more stuff from coming in and creating more damage. You guys following me? So this is what I am going to talk about, though, really quick, is all of us have some type or another of a genetic predisposition. Last night at the Vaxxed event, how many of us came to the Vaxxed event last night? Wasn't that fantastic? Yeah. That was absolutely amazing. And last night we talked about a test called 23andMe. And it's a saliva test that you can do, and you can actually get your genes tested. You can get your genetic material tested. And for some of us, we might be predisposed to heart disease. For some of us, we might be predisposed to autism. You guys think that's important information to know, right? For not only you, but maybe for the rest of your family member and what you're handing down? Priceless information. So please get that, okay? How about the modern lifestyle? We have to have both of these things to create a disease. Just because breast cancer runs in my family, does that mean that I'm going to have breast cancer? Just because heart attacks run in my family, does that mean I'm going to get a heart attack? Absolutely not. Genes will load the gun. I'm going to use this analogy. Genes will load the gun, but right here, our modern lifestyle is what pulls the trigger, and that's what equals disease. You following me? So here's the big ones. Of course, our work. Does anybody's work look like this? Except mine. Mine kind of does, right? Mine kind of does. We throw around high fives like they're candy at the office, right? So this is what our office looks like, but most people's doesn't. Work is a stressful thing, right? And then, of course, you get home from work, and then you've got some homework, or home from school, and you got some homework, right? So both of those things are emotionally taxing, and that creates a role. And then, of course, the kids get home. The kids get home, and we do that, right? Or the bills come at the end of the month, and that's what we do. Our land, thank God that we're all eating 100% organic here, but for most people, we're not eating 100% organic, and we're getting glyphosate in. What does food look like for most people? It looks like this, right? And I love using this picture because we always have the greens on our burger, right? I always have our greens on our burger. What about our water? You know, Patty, did you say water? How many of you buy or filter your water at home? Look around. It's crazy. Every single one of us in here, right? Every single one of us in here, because we know how bad tap water is, and this unfortunately isn't the best solution. So we're getting toxins from all these different things. How about our skincare? Have you guys read the ingredients on your deodorant? Let's just pick on deodorants for a second. What's the nasty ingredient in our deodorant? Aluminum. And aluminum, when it passes through the skin, gets in the bloodstream, gets in the blood-brain barrier, what is that a known cause of? Parkinson's, Alzheimer's? Absolutely. So what's in your personal care? We're getting inundated with it. How about our air? What do you guys think? We just talked about naled and the mosquito spraying. The list can go on and on and on. How many of you have sat in traffic and smelled, maybe got tired in traffic, maybe got frustrated in traffic, maybe smelled that exhaust in traffic? We're constantly inundated. Do I have to go any further on this? If we do these things the right way, guys, of course it creates health. If we do these things the wrong way, what does it create every time? I'm going to say right here, it's the perfect storm. It's the perfect storm, maybe. Next slide. You are either building health or building sickness with those things, okay? And again, when we're doing these things, it creates the perfect storm. It's not a matter of if we get sick, but it's rather a matter of what? When. I'm liking this. I'm liking this. A big philosophy that we have in the office is the greatest doctor in the world lives where? Inside each one of us, right? From conception all the way to the last breath that we take, the greatest doctor in the world lives inside of us. But what happens when that doctor is overrun by all of those things that we just talked about? That doctor can't really do its job so good. And again, that's where that sickness and disease happens. So again, we're going to talk about a lovely thing called the bucket, okay? A lovely thing called the bucket. I want you guys to imagine every single one of yourselves being a bucket. And the more stuff we throw into that bucket, eventually it's going to do what? Overflow. And when it overflows, it can turn into high blood pressure, digestive problems, or weight loss resistance, or emotional fatigue, or brain fog, or headaches. Again, everybody raise their hand when we say that we know somebody or personally have experienced that stuff. And the reason why is because we have a tolerance level. We have a tolerance level. You guys follow me when I say that? Some people's buckets are bigger. Some people can effectively empty their bucket. What would be a good way of emptying your bucket? I was just talking with Jared and Paloma, and they're talking about taking a trip to Spain and France, you said, or Italy. Wouldn't that be a great way to empty your bucket, right? You go on a vacation, you feel so... I always feel like I need a vacation from my vacation though, right? But I always feel so much better when I do that. It's because I was able to let go of some of these stressors that we keep filling up our bucket with, okay? How many of you feel absolutely terrible after you eat a bad meal? Raise your hand. Many of us have experienced it because this bucket is getting full and your body's telling you something. You guys see what I'm saying on all this? All right, I'm trying to build up a little bit so we're all on the same page before I go crazy on you, okay? Stop me if you're having a hard time with this. Here's another analogy that we can use with the bucket, okay? If our bucket is down here, okay, the first glass on the side there, and we don't have very much stress or very much toxins or very much bad food in there, I can shake that glass a little bit, and that water is still going to be contained within the glass. I can put that glass through a little bit of stress, and it's still going to be fine. It's not going to spill out. But what happens when we get it fuller and fuller? We get older and older. We're exposed to more and more stuff. We have more and more responsibilities on our shoulder. What happens then when I shake that glass on the opposite end? You start to notice those things quicker and quicker. You guys ever notice that as we get older, it's harder to recover from an exercise? It's harder to have an all-nighter and wake up the next day and go back to work. You guys see what I'm saying? It's because our buckets are starting to get more and more and more full. You guys following me? How do we effectively empty that bucket? That's what this is all about. It's not about how do we minimize the stuff from coming in. That's for another day. It's how do we effectively empty that bucket? Because if we don't do that the right way, that's where we create bigger problems. My wife is a perfect example of this. How many of you have heard my wife's story? Actually, I get to announce this. So we found out on Monday we are having a girl, our third child. We're having a girl. So my wife and I both just lost it. We were just bawling. We've got 2 boys, and my wife is kind of like a single mom right now because we've been working pretty hard. So everybody send her prayers and blessing at home. But my 2 boys are just the naughtiest things. They look really cute right here, but they are easily the naughtiest things I've ever met in my life. So my wife is a perfect example of this. She was chronically sick as a kid, right? A lot of antibiotics, ear infections, food allergies, and then when she was in high school, she actually ended up getting chronic fatigue syndrome, okay? So she slept for about 18 hours a day. Homework had to be sent home for her, and that happened for a couple of years. She went to some of the best medical establishments, Mayo Clinic, University of Minnesota, and have you guys ever heard this? We know you're dealing with this, but all of your tests come back normal. So there's nothing that we can do for you. How many of you ever heard that, right? It's pretty frustrating because you, the greatest doctor in the world, inside of you knows that something's wrong, but the tests all come back normal. Guys, we're only as good as what our tests show, right? We're only as good as what our tests show, and a lot of our tests are completely outdated, okay? So what was crazy is my wife had a pretty miraculous recovery, and part of that story is how I got into chiropractic. A chiropractor actually saved her. We thought that she was pretty good. But if we went back to that glass, that water glass, she wasn't here anymore, but she was maybe, say, like here, okay? So after a natural delivery of 45 hours for my first son is when things really got ugly. 3 months later, my wife said that she had more pain in her stomach than she did when she was delivering naturally. I knew something was wrong. My wife got diagnosed with Crohn's, and that's when her bucket overflowed. You guys see what I'm saying? The biggest thing for her at that point in time was the emotional and the physical stress. It wasn't the toxins that sent her over, right? It was the physical and the emotional stress that put her over the edge of that 45-hour-long childbirth, okay? And so if we could have anticipated that, I mean, her life would have been very different, but how many of you know that there's power in testimony, right? There's power in testimony, and so thank God that happened, and we can share that with you guys. All right, so here's where we're going to get into it. You guys ready to run? We've been walking so far. You guys ready to run? All right. Stop me if I'm talking too fast. Here it is. Biomagnification. Anybody heard of that before? Okay, let's forget the text over here for a second. What do you guys think on this little food pyramid here? What do you think has less toxins, the phytoplankton down at the bottom or the shark up at the, let's just pick mercury. Which one do you think has more mercury? The phytoplankton down at the bottom or the shark up at the top? Shark up at the top. And we're all on the same page, right? The phytoplankton eat whatever they eat, but the crustaceans eat them, and so they get whatever this guy eat. And these guys eat them and get whatever they eat. You guys, and further up and on. You guys see what I'm saying? Biomagnification, or something called bioaccumulation. We're going to take that and apply that to our life. Everything that we've ever eaten, every experience that we've ever had, any room that we've ever walked into, every new car that we've ever been into, it accumulates into our body. Biomagnification. Here are the 3 big things, and we're going to call these, I guess, the silent killers maybe tonight, right? Heavy metals, biotoxins, and chronic infections. These are the 3 big things that most people have no idea on. And honestly, I want to make sure that you guys know, if you would have talked with me about this about a year ago, I really wouldn't have been able to talk about this stuff at all, okay? I am constantly learning. How many of you know that I'm a dork? I can call myself a dork. Really, Kelly? Really? You did that way too fast. I'm a nerd, I'm a geek, I'm a dork. I love this stuff, right? I absolutely love this stuff, and probably the thing that I love more is that I get a chance to share it with you guys, and if anything sinks in and changes your life, that makes me a really happy person. Here are the big things: heavy metals, biotoxins, and chronic infections. I'm not going to talk about them too much, but of course you guys know that I am. We'll start with heavy metals. Heavy metals, did you guys know that mercury is banned in Australia, France, Canada, United Kingdom, Japan, Norway, New Zealand, and Sweden? That's just a few. Mercury is banned in those countries. Okay, as long as we're talking about heavy metals, let's talk a little bit about lead. You know, lead, we used to have it in our gasoline, right? And at the Vax event last night, we talked a little bit about the story of the guy who blew the whistle on lead, right? And his was death threats, and the government went after him, and the gasoline industry went after him. Pretty crazy story. Again, I don't know his name, which I apologize. But literally decades later, everything changed, and maybe it wasn't decades, maybe it was a decade. But we don't have lead in our gas anymore. But we knew that it was really bad because lead takes 4 generations to get out. Mom gives it to baby, baby gives it to baby, baby gives it 4 generations for lead to get out, okay? That's if you remove it completely. Are we removing lead? No, absolutely not, okay? Aluminum is absolutely linked to Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. The reason that heavy metals are so bad is because it decreases IQ and it increases genetic mutation. Neither one of those are good. It drives neuronal inflammation and demyelination of the nerve system. All of that is bad. We know that type of stuff. In fact, if you guys want to do a little YouTube, you can type in mercury and the nerve system, and you can actually physically see it live underneath a microscope. When mercury touches a nerve, it literally strips it of the fat that surrounds that. It's very scary to see. Let me talk about it a little bit more. Don't read this here for a sec, because I'll go through it. I want you guys to see this. This is a picture, okay, and this is right off of the internet, good old Dr. Google, okay? This is a picture straight off of a mercury amalgam fillings coming into a dental office, okay? Mercury amalgam fillings, when they get shipped to the dentist's office, are treated as biohazard waste material. When they're put in your mouth, they're treated as safe and effective. When they're taken out of your mouth, they're treated again as biohazard waste material, okay? I'm going to read this really quick. How many of you are aware that mercury in the mouth is bad? Okay, a lot of, okay, good. Ready for this? Requires protective gear, protective clothing, gloves, and a ventilation hood to use. Warning, ingestion may cause neurotoxic and nephrotoxic effects. It causes, if you breathe it, bronchiolitis, pneumonitis, pulmonary edema. Acute exposure may cause sensitization of the dermatitis, swelling of the skin, and then, of course, Proposition 65 out of California. Warning, this product contains mercury, a chemical known to the state of California. You guys ready for it? Drum roll, please. Known to cause birth defects and other reproductive harm. That's the warning label literally on the mercury as it gets shipped to the dental office. Does any of that make you guys mad? Yeah, it's pretty frustrating. And then, to make it even worse, that's California's Proposition 65. They also just mandated what? Vaccines, which are also used in, mercury is also used in vaccines. Let's talk about it a little bit more. 46% of dentists still using amalgams because the American Dental Association considers it safe. Amalgams contain over 50% mercury, even though a lot of times we call them silver fillings now, okay? Silver fillings. There's more mercury in a filling than there is in one of those little tiny thermometers that we used to use in schools, okay? More in that, okay? The part that's so scary about mercury, depending on what form it's in, it's a 15 to 30-year half-life. What does that mean? If you get, we're just going to use an example, right? We're just going to use an example. If there's a gram of mercury in your body, or a gram of it anywhere, it takes 15 to 30 years for that to break down into half its size. You guys follow me when I say that? And another 15 to 30 years for it to break down into half of that size, and so on and so on. Okay, you guys see where we're going with all of this? This is pretty crazy. Mercury is the most neurotoxic element that we know of. There's a lot of movement in dentistry to change the different metals because a lot of people know this is bad, so a lot of people are using gold. The hard part, and I'm not the expert on this, so I'm just going to say it, okay? It can create an electrical current in the mouth, which almost acts like a battery. And the hard part, when we have different metals and mercury in there, it actually will leach out the mercury 10 times faster out of that silver filling. Okay, you guys starting to freak out at all? Let's do a little correlation study here. Dentists, we know that their profession is the highest rate of what? So many people know that, right? And that's not actually a myth. They also have the highest rate of divorce, and they also actually, of all the professions tested, have the highest rate of urinary excretion of mercury. Okay, so we're just going to have a little correlation here. Yes, break anybody else's heart? Am I saying that dentists are bad? No, thank God. We have a lot of dentist friends, my uncles. Exactly. They're being taught a specific way, right? They're being taught a specific way. I'm going to go a little bit more. Once these metals get in, right now, Alzheimer's and dementia are the fastest growing diseases in adults. Fastest growing diseases in adults. In fact, for Alzheimer's and dementia, there's a diagnosis of that every 3 seconds. Count them up tonight. That creates a $2 trillion burden on our economy. And for most people, before the symptoms start to show up of that disease, 30 to 50 years beforehand is when the disease actually starts. Let's break that down into terms that we can understand maybe a little bit more. 5 consecutive flu shots in a row increases your risk of Alzheimer's and dementia 10 times. 5 flu shots. How many Walgreens did you guys pass by with flu shots here on the way here tonight? Guys, I'm not trying to be heavy here, but you have to know this. And again, the biggest thing that we know about the brain, if you're struggling with brain health, it literally means that you're also struggling with digestive health. If you're struggling with digestive health now, it means that you will struggle with brain health later. Questions or anything like that? Okay, so that was heavy metals. Now we can move on from heavy metals. I know it's heavy. It'll get a lot more fun, I promise you. It will get a lot more fun. Hang in there with me. Wrong way. All right, there we go. We're going to move on to mold next. And this is a huge topic, and I'm not going to talk about it too much. My wife was definitely affected by this as well. Mold has been around for a long time, and that's why I put on there it's an ancient problem, but a new epidemic. Mold is literally everywhere. Aflatoxins and mycotoxins. The website GreenMed Info actually put out an article this week on mycotoxins and aflatoxins. If you like to read, go read there. But if you have problems with weight gain or weight loss resistance, pain, soreness, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, trouble sleeping, all the things that I said, right? Guys, this needs to be addressed. And what's cool is that's the only slide that I have on. Oh, I do have another slide on this. You want to know more too? If you're not a reader and don't want to go to GreenMed Info, how many of you have heard of Bulletproof Coffee? The guy who started Bulletproof Coffee and the Bulletproof Diet, his name is David Asprey. He just put a documentary out, and for all of you Netflix people, right, it's called Moldy. It's called Moldy if you want to read more. It's a wonderful movie, and it's going to talk a lot about testimonies and the science behind this stuff, okay? We actually have somebody in our office tonight that struggled with mold toxicity for years and years and years, and what did the doctors tell her? Everything was normal. Okay, chronic infections, here's another big one, parasites, Lyme, root canals. A lot of times this can be asymptomatic for years and years and years. People can, again, what I have on here is they can be commonly misdiagnosed, commonly mistreated for something, right, where the symptoms are showing up, but the problem's in a completely different area. So again, if we're not testing the right way, we're going to miss these things, and we're not going to get down to that root cause. Hang in there with me, guys. Hang in there with me. I love this slide. I had to have a little bit of fun. This guy looks like he's having a blast, right? So we're going back to the renovation of your body, right? Are you guys still not convinced that you need a renovation? Are you still not convinced you want to go all the way back to the beginning? There is a movie on YouTube. It's a short movie. It's about 20 minutes. It's called 10 Americans. It's done by the Environmental Working Group, and I think that every single person in here needs to watch this. Okay, it's called the 10 Americans Environmental Working Group. And if you guys can see here, the first line that I have on there is it has proven that babies are born pre-polluted. Okay, what they did was test 10 different children, their cord blood. Unborn babies, their cord blood. Okay, so that means that that child has never been exposed to anything other than what that mom has been exposed to. You guys following me? We used to think, pediatricians and doctors of all ages said that that baby was protected in the fetus, but this said completely otherwise. In the cord blood, 287 different industrial chemicals, 28 of them were industrial waste products, 47 were consumer products, like again, from your deodorants and your shampoos. You guys ready for this? They found many, many toxins, right? Many, many toxins. Some of them were even banned 30 years ago in the cord blood when they did that test, okay? Does that blow any of you guys away? That blew me away when I heard that study, okay? And the way that it's delivered by the founder of EWG, it is a profound talk, and I'll let you guys go and listen to it. 10 Americans, okay? The last thing that I have on here, we have to understand as well is that the blood-brain barrier, okay, you guys know how we have doors coming in here, right? It lets us come in and it lets us go out. Our brain has a barrier between our blood and the sensitive tissue of our brain. But it's small enough, it's kind of like a screen door. So maybe we can, the air can come through, but maybe the bugs or the lizards can't go through. You guys following me? Us as humans, we lack a fully developed blood-brain barrier until the age of 3, okay? So that fetus is even more susceptible. We used to not give women medication or the flu shot when they were pregnant, but what do we do now? We recommend it then. Vaccines are given at the most vulnerable time of our life. All right, I think I've got one more. Last one, if you're not convinced, okay? If you've ever had this type of stuff, we know that we need to get this stuff out. Every single person needs this stuff out because, again, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it's going to create a problem. All right, so here we go. Enough bad stuff, enough bad news? Yeah. How are we doing on time? What time is it? What, 35? Oh my gosh, I've just been taking my time way too long on this. Okay, here's my disclaimer. My disclaimer, and hopefully I can give every one of you a digital flower here or something like that. That was my thought behind this slide, okay? I still, a lot of the detox programs out there are very much like this. You ever seen a street cleaner going down the road? What do you think? Does he do a really good job cleaning up, or does he kind of just move stuff around? Yeah, move stuff around. So a lot of the detox programs, and guess what? These are products pulled straight from my shelf. Right? Straight from my shelf. I'm guilty of saying that these things are a detox. They're really not meant to be a true detox like what we're going to talk about, okay? Do they help? Does a juice help? Absolutely 100%, right? Does a smoothie that you're eating help? Does a 6-day detox, doesn't sound like much. Does a 6-day detox help? Absolutely, right? But what we talk about inside of our office is the best of the best. That's what it's always about. It's the best of the best of the best, okay? And so when I started learning about this, I started to freak out. Okay? And hopefully I'm trying not to freak you guys out, but I want to put this information in your hands. I'm still going to carry this stuff because it's still beneficial, but it's no longer the best of the best. So I recently came across some new products and some new ideas about how to detox, and that's what I really want to share with you guys tonight. Here's what's going on. 98% of the detoxes on the market are not effective, and 50% are not safe, right? Anybody ever taken chlorella and spirulina? Anybody heard of those things? They're algae, and they're fantastic, right? They can actually get in. Mercola talks about them. Mike Adams talks. A lot of physicians and greatly respected people talk about them. They're great, but what do? They stir stuff up. They don't bind it. They stir stuff up. When we stir stuff up, it's just going to deposit somewhere else, okay? How about glutathione? How many of you ever heard me talk about glutathione? Glutathione's the master antioxidant in the body, helps the body do what it does better, specifically inside the cell and the liver. Places around that do IV detoxes, chelation therapy. Anybody heard of chelation therapy? I want to say that stuff is incredibly powerful and incredibly effective in acute poisoning of metal. You guys see what I'm saying? Many of us in this room are not talking about acute poisoning. We're talking about chronic, lifetime filling up that bucket over time. So a lot of times those are not safe because it pulls that stuff so fast out that it can create toxicity on the kidneys. Okay, so where do we start? Right here. You guys, this is hopefully a jingle that you guys are going to hear in your head all night, and you can't sleep. You have to get to the cell and fix the cell to get well. Everybody say that for me. Fix the cell to get well. I was like, okay. Need to maybe play some music in the back. Timmy, where's the guitar? No, I'm teasing, right? So fix the cell to get well. That's what it's all about. We want to get down to the cell level. There's colon cleanses, there's liver cleanses, there's kidney cleanses. But as you guys are going to hear in a second, that's literally just kind of phase 1, okay? So I want to know that, or you all to know that somebody much smarter than me came up with this, okay? And if you want to learn more, this YouTube channel is out of this world. It is hard for me to take it all in. It is out of this world. It's called Cellular Healing TV, okay? And it's a channel on YouTube. What this guy does, Dr. Pompa, he interviews people in the medical industry, dentists, nurses, chiropractors, functional medicine doctors, nutritionists. Literally, this guy is probably one of the smartest people that I've ever met, okay? And he talks about all sorts of different topics. And when you go onto this YouTube channel, you can pick anything that you want, but you're actually going to get to hear it in a much different perspective, okay? So this is the man that came up with what I'm going to talk about tonight is True Cellular Detox, okay? True Cellular Detox. If you guys go into their website, you guys can start learning about it already, but I'm going to bring you right now the whole package, hopefully in a comprehensive way, and hopefully not keeping you guys here all night. So what True Cellular Detox is, there's before and after testing. How many of you think before and after testing is a smart thing to do? I think we should probably all raise our hands, right? Whether you're doing medication, whether you're doing a natural product, whatever it is, before and after testing. That's how we know if something is effective. Because if it's not working, you're spending your money. Do you want to keep spending your money on something that isn't working for you? We are all different. This is not a one-size-fits-all program. Before and after testing. The next thing is this is a 90-day protocol. Does that mean that everybody gets better in 90 days? Nope. Does that mean a lot of people get better sooner? Absolutely. But it's a 90-day supplement program. It's a 90-day meal plan. And you also have access online to coaching and food menus and all sorts of stuff like that. That's what the program looks like. Here's how it works. Why we test. I'm going to do some testing right now. The reason why we test is to get down to the root cause. We could do blood testing, saliva, stool, urine, all this different types of stuff, but we're going to have a little bit of fun here. You ever driven down the road, like as you age and you start to have a hard time seeing? Raise your hand if you have a hard time seeing at night. Don't say I'm the only one. Nobody else notices that? Right? And the brights get like oncoming traffic lights get a little bit bright and it's kind of hard to see. Maybe glare up a little bit more and you have to squint a little bit. Okay, that's a problem. And there's a website called Surviving Mold. It's a medical doctor that actually put this test together, Surviving Mold. There's a digital portion of the test. If you want to go online and take the test, you can do it. We're going to take Patty. Patty, come on up here. And Patty's going to demonstrate the test right now. Okay? This is really cool. Patty none of you get to wear this tonight. This is a pirate eye patch. Only Patty gets to wear this. I told you guys this is going to get fun. Okay, so this test was developed by a medical doctor, and his name is Dr. Shoemaker. And what this test does is measure neurotoxicity. And if we're going to measure nerves, one of the biggest nerves in the body besides the spinal cord is actually the optic nerve. So we're going to test how well her optic nerve works. Okay? I'm going to walk around. Actually, I think I'm going to show the next. Where did I put my clicker? There it is. I'm going to show the next slide. We're going to test for vitamin A deficiency, which is, you guys know you can test for vitamin A deficiency in the eye, which is pretty crazy. We're going to test for biotoxins, like the ones we talked about, heavy metals and mold and aflatoxins, right? And we're going to test for general toxicity. What's really cool about this, for 92% of people that actually are toxic, they fail this test. That's pretty good, isn't it? There's a false negative 1% of the time. That's awesome. So am I going to encourage further testing for certain? Absolutely. This is a very simple test that we can do, and you can even do it at home if you want. I'm going to show you what this looks like. Everybody see the lines that I have on here? See how the top one's really easy to see? And see how it kind of gets a little bit hard? I try to create this digitally, but it's not that great. That's what's actually happening on this right here. Can you see the lines on that? You can see the lines on that. Look up in the upper right-hand corner. You see the striations up there? Up there? You guys see the striations up there? You guys see up here in the top corner? Can you see that back there? Okay, so there's striations in there. We're going to actually test Patty to see how well she can see it. The further on down the line it goes, the harder it's going to be to see. Now we have different columns. And again, vitamin A deficiency, biotoxins, metals, and the last one's going to be general toxicity. So go ahead, Patty, put that up against your chin. We trained her beforehand, and Patty, get the best light. Give yourself the best chance. Okay. So let's have you go down. Let's do letter C. Go ahead, go right down.
Okay. Straight up and down.
Yep.
Slanting to the right.
Yep.
Slanting to the left. Straight up and down. Slanting to the right. Straight up and down.
Good job.
Slanting to the right. And that's it.
Good job.
Okay.
So there's 9 rows down, okay? And Patty should get to about 6, 7, 8, and that lets us know she's doing good. If she can make it all the way down, we know that she's functioning pretty well, okay? So for that one, we're going to call it a pass. Patty, let's go into the next one, D. Okay, and this is going to make it a little bit harder on Patty. Again, we want her to say 9 of them going down.
These are harder.
Pretty wild, huh?
Yeah,
It gets harder and harder and harder.
Yeah, they're really hard.
It tests that optic nerve, right? So that she can't determine the contrast on there. And it lets us know that her optic nerve is oxidizing, it's aging, it's not effective at communicating that information to the brain. You get them yet?
Okay, I can see the first one. The second one is slanting to the right. Third one's up and down.
Okay, so I love this test, okay? I love this test. It's easy to do. You can come into the office and do it. You can go online and do it, okay? But what if somebody's kind of right on the verge there, right? We would test both eyes, okay? And we would, of course, test the vision beforehand, okay? We can monitor this really easy. If we put a treatment plan in place, we should see things get better. What if we want to test a little bit more? Well, we've got an answer for that, too. Meta-oxy urine test right here is something that we can use to take a little bit of urine and put it into one of these glasses. You guys see the range that's on there, right? When people, when their cells start to oxidize, okay, and I'm going to get into this a little bit more, when this fat layer on the cells start to oxidize, the body releases a chemical which we can test for. Very cheap, very easy, something that's simple to do. Here's what it looks like. Maybe. There it is. There's the scale, okay? We want somebody to be around 0, 1, 2, and 3. And then again, when they get higher, it turns to borderline, and then, of course, toxicity. This is something that's easy, and I don't know if you saw that last slide. It's actually 50 times more sensitive for testing the oxidation of the cellular membrane than blood is. Easy to do. We don't have to draw blood. Awesome. All right, on to the next. What's another thing that we can do? We have a neurotoxic questionnaire. All right, raise your hand if you get dizziness, if your blood or if your temperature is below 97, if you have insomnia, irritability, ringing in your ears, indecisiveness, bad breath, floaters, swelling of the eyelids, dry skin, depression, gout, twitchy eyelids, anemia, sensitivity to light, red eyes, blurred vision, morning stiffness. Okay, you want me to keep going? Okay, right? So a lot of symptoms that many of us are taking either medication for or that we're just kind of putting up with can mean the sign of something bigger. You guys have heard me talk about that. Fix the cell to get well. Here's what we're going to go through. This is a 3-phase detoxification program. 3-phase. There's the 5 R's of cellular healing, which I'm going to go through right now. You guys are going to see my newfangled art, creative side of things. We're going to open and support detox pathways, and then we're going to use true binders to get this stuff all the way out. You guys ready? All right, here we go. 5 R's is not that cellular healing. Come on now. Really? You guys didn't even laugh at that? All right, here's our 5 R's. Remove the source, regenerate the membrane, restore cellular energy, reduce cellular inflammation, and reestablish methylation. All right. No laughing. There's our cell. Okay? I'm going to draw some circles and some cartoons on here. There's our cell. I want good stuff to come in. I want to feed my cell. So we're going to put some stuff in there. We're going to put some fuel in there. Okay? Whatever that cell is meant to do, whether it's meant to be a brain cell and compute, or a liver cell and cleanse, or a gut cell to digest, all of our cells need fuel. Following me? All right. When that comes in, our body's actually going to make something called ATP. Everybody heard of ATP? The mitochondria make ATP for energy. Now, just like our car, when we put gas into the car, right, the gas is the fuel, but we have a waste product called exhaust. If I was going to start a fire in here, it would bellow smoke, and we'd have to get that out. Our cell does the same thing. It creates, when it has energy, it creates energy, but it also creates waste. What do we want to do with that waste? Say it. What do we want to do? Get it out. Does that make sense? We call this cellular respiration. It's literally the breathing of a cell. Just like when we take a breath in, blow it all the way out, right? We have to get the good stuff in. We have to get the bad stuff out. Now, this cell is made up of, go ahead, tell me. It's made up of what? Fat. That membrane is made up of fat, okay? Every cell in our body is made up of fat. So actually, our health is kind of determined by good fats. Now, you guys know coconut oil, avocados, actually supports that cellular membrane. So the good stuff comes in and the bad stuff goes out. This seems pretty cool, doesn't it? All right, what if we eat bad food? What if we use toxic skin products, toxic deodorant, right? What if we don't filter our water? That's my lovely drawing of inflammation of the cellular membrane. What if we don't feed our body enough fat? What do you guys think is happening at that cellular level? Inflammation. How well do you think the good stuff is going to come in? How well do you think the bad stuff's going to get out? You think it's going to work very good? It's not going to work very good, you guys. Now, the hard part about this is when this is having a hard time coming in, that can create a deficiency at the cellular level. You guys follow me? Creates a deficiency. The body starts working a little bit harder. It starts trying to pull stuff in a little bit faster. And when that happens, we create more exhaust, and it has a harder time getting out. That will create a toxicity. Deficiency and toxicity. You guys see what I'm saying? Should we make this a little bit harder? We have receptors on our cells, don't we? Receptors on our cells for hormones. Hormones is part of our body and how it communicates from one area to the other. Anybody ever heard of insulin sensitivity? Insulin resistance, what do we call that? Diabetes. We call that diabetes, all right? Well, if this is inflamed here and we're having a hard time, right, with our insulin sensitivity, our insulin receptors working the right way, well, what do? We actually end up putting more and more medication into our body, don't we? If the fuel door on my car is closed and I start pumping gas all over the top of my car, do you think I'm going to get my car to run? You guys think the answer? How about this one? What if we talk about thyroid over here? That's a good one, isn't it? How about bioidentical hormones, right? Do you guys think the problem on this particular example is a lack of T3 or a lack of hormones? Probably not. It's because that isn't communicating on the inside. How about over here, the last one that we could have is leptin. That could be weight loss resistance. You guys see what I'm saying? This isn't going to communicate the right way. The last thing that I'll say about this is inside of here, of course, is also our DNA. So when those waste products build up, you guys see how it's going to actually mutate our DNA. Wow, is this making sense, you guys? This is huge. When I first saw this drawing, it's so simple, but it makes sense. And this is the building blocks of us. This is the building blocks of us. So if we're not treating our cell well, we're not going to get very far. All right, say we've got all of this working the right way. We're going to reverse a little bit. When we do get this good stuff going out, where does it go to? Out into our bloodstream, out into our detox organs like our gut, like our kidneys, and like our liver. Okay, so say we got all that done. I'll skip this slide because you guys already saw that. Here's an up-close view of what that lipid bilayer looks like. Is a computer rendition of what that looks like at the cell. This is really cool, taking us back to high school biology class. In the beginning of our phase here, we're going to talk about a prep phase. Okay, in the beginning, what we're trying to do is actually, we're not even worried about the cell right now. We're actually trying to get the cells of the kidneys and the liver and the gut to function properly. I'm going to put this all together. Hang in there with me, okay? I'm going to put this all together. The beginning in the prep phase, what we're trying to do is get those organs to function better. You'll see what I mean here in a second. If we're, maybe I'll say it right now. If we're getting a lot of this stuff out and our kidneys get overloaded, where's that stuff going to go? If we're getting a lot of this stuff out and our liver's overloaded, where's it going to go? Not going to work that great, right? We're just going to retox, which I'll talk about that here in a second. Okay, that's phase one. Phase number 2, open and support detox pathways. That's when we get into this body system here. I'm going to try to do it like this. Here's a big dam. Can everybody see that picture? Okay, without knowing anything else about this picture, would any of you hit the button to release the dam? Without knowing anything else, would any of you hit the button to release the dam? Not even one person? Okay. Say we did. Say we just wanted to release all of those toxins that were in that water, all those toxins that are in our cell. Say we went and just did a detox and we got rid of all this stuff. Well, this could definitely happen. Okay? Okay, we have to make sure that downstream of this dam, everything is draining properly. Everything is getting out of the body properly before we start stirring stuff up. Okay? Here's my example of that. There we go. All right, get your phones out. Take a picture of this. Here's phase 1. Here's phase 2. This is, I think, where hopefully it'll land for you guys, okay? A lot of the detoxes out there, like a colon cleanse, like a liver cleanse, like a kidney cleanse, like a lymphatic massage. Those things are excellent, you guys. Those are going to help us get rid of toxins, aren't they? But look at this. It's never going to go up and get to the brain. It's never going to go up and get down to the cell level. This is all downstream to that, okay? So you first have to clear out those downstream things. So these things first can get all of the junk out of the body. You follow me? All of the junk out of the body. And when this happens, we're going to use this term. It creates a concentration gradient. You guys remember high school biology class? If we put some salt in the cell and there's no salt out of the cell, where does the salt want to go to? It wants a balance. You remember the homeostasis? Remember homeostasis? Remember that word? Our body wants homeostasis. And so when we start removing things downstream, we start getting things downstream, that's when the body goes, I want to balance, and I'm going to start pulling all of this junk and all of this garbage out. See what I'm saying? This is fantastic. I love when we really start to get here, okay? But when we do that, we're going to need to bind, and that's my next slide. We have to bind. When we start moving all this stuff, we have to bind it. Otherwise, we're going to do retoxification. Now, I'm going to save you from drawing a digestive tract on here. Do I have your blessing to save you from drawing it? I tried it a couple times, and it kind of just looked like a snake. Didn't really go very far, okay? So when our body is getting rid of all this stuff into the gut, what's our gut's job? Number 1 is elimination, but it's also what? Absorption. So if we're putting all of this stuff in the gut, it's going to go right back in. And it's going to deposit in other areas. Maybe it's going to go in the brain. Maybe it's going to go into a cell. Maybe it's going to go somewhere else. That's not really a good idea, is it? So we have to make sure we're binding. We're binding. And that's where this comes in. True binders stop retoxification. How many of you ever heard of a Herxheimer? I should ask you guys to pronounce that. Herxheimer. Kelly has, right? Okay, so this is pretty crazy. And this can happen with antibiotics. And this can happen with probiotics. But it's actually when you experience a huge portion of die-off from bad bacteria, okay, and you actually get crazy symptoms from the toxins that bacteria releases. How many have ever done a new supplement and you felt worse before you felt better? How many have ever got an adjustment and you feel worse before you got better? How many have ever slept more and you felt worse before you got better? Right? This is kind of what happens in the body. A lot of times when we start to change things, the body gets worse before it gets better. And that's the official word for it, but a lot of times that's with the bacteria and the stuff that they release. I'll never forget this. We had a patient, and I'll let her name be nameless, right? Probably the second year that we were in practice, and we had what we thought at the time was a really cool detox program. And she took it, and literally 2 days into it, she put herself into the hospital because she had a skin rash, she had severe headaches, nausea, vomiting. She had a crazy reaction to it, right? And at the time, I had no idea. She hospitalized. Thank God that she did that. She took herself off the supplementation. But what she was experiencing, right, was an extreme Herxheimer reaction, where her body was so ready to get rid of stuff that it wanted it to get out really fast, okay? We didn't use enough binders, and it started to stir up, and it came out everywhere, okay? Guys, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is a fever a good thing or a bad thing? The body knows what it's doing. We have to listen to those symptoms. All right, so when you do get to the blood or the brain phase, this is something that you have to cycle, okay? You go 7 days on, and then you go 7 days off. You go 7 days on, and you go 7 days off. We have to be very selective in going into the brain and actually pulling stuff out. We've got some supplements that actually cross the blood-brain barrier, which can kind of get a little scary, doesn't it? All right, ready to get into it? More dorkiness, more dorkiness. Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm sorry. I just have to share it with all you guys. It's contagious. Don't get too close. All right, so this is the last thing, is something called Detox, okay? Detox. Anybody ever heard of zeolite? Liquid zeolite. Okay, zeolite is a chemical that's found out, or I shouldn't say a chemical, it's a compound or a mineral that's found out in the earth, okay? Zeolite. And the chemical name is something like aluminosilicate, okay? I don't know what that is, but aluminum's part of it, okay? I just want us all to be aware of that. Many different places you can mine it from, Mexico, all over the place. But what it is it's literally a sponge, okay? It's literally a sponge, just like activated charcoal. I already asked before, but I want to see another round of hands. How many of you have heard of activated charcoal? This is what we use in the emergency room in case somebody overdoses from alcohol or drugs. It is a sponge. It's not a detoxer, it's a sponge. Zeolite, not a detoxer, but a sponge. You following me? Here's what's really cool. This particular brand can cross the blood-brain barrier. And it's been clinically tested, which I'm going to show you guys here in a second, by somebody that's very well known in the natural health world, okay? When it crosses the blood-brain barrier, it's not the size, it's actually the molecular weight. 93% of this is in the right weight for it to cross the blood-brain barrier. Let's do this here. This is from Mike Adams. Anybody heard of the naturalnews.com? Great guy. Wrote a book called Food Forensic recently. Well respected in the natural health community. Interviews a lot. Wonderful stuff. Naturalnews.com, okay? This guy put out an article like within the last year that these things, zeolites, are really bad. It's kind of a shock to the natural health world because a lot of us thought that zeolites were a great detox, okay? What's really cool is this company reached out to him and asked him to test it independently. This guy's his own state-of-the-art lab. He doesn't take any BS from anybody, which I've got a lot of respect for him. So he tested it, and here it is. He was saying that it contains high levels of aluminum, high levels of mercury, high levels of lead, and this is what the Detox came back with. And just so we're all on the same page, 307 parts per billion is very low according to Mike's standards. So this is good stuff, and I want to make sure you guys hear that, not from me, okay? Go on his website and you can hear more about it. He wrote a follow-up article about Detox and redeeming this company, which was great, okay? All right, here's the blood-brain barrier. You guys see this cool contraption? This is the standard protocol for any medication, any supplement, anything that's going to talk about brain health. For Alzheimer's, so imagine anything that crosses the blood-brain barrier, this is what it looks like. You guys ready to walk through it? Over here in the red tank is the blood tank. The pink tank is the brain tank. I don't know how people are just smart. They came up with this. And there's a membrane in the middle that mimics the blood-brain barrier. Isn't that just like in and of itself really cool? So any pharmaceutical company that wants to have a medication for brain health, right, antidepressants, ADHD, this is how they test it. And this right here is Detox. Here is out of the red tank, and you can see in the red tank, over the course of 12 hours, we see that going lower. That means it's leaving the red tank and going into the pink tank. Here's the pink tank. We can see the concentration getting higher. Easy enough, isn't it? Crosses the blood-brain barrier. Awesome. I love it. Very, very cool. That's literally it, you guys, on the supplementation. Are we good? All right. Online content of this package. I love it. How many of you play games on your phone? Yeah, I don't either because I get punched every time I try to do it, right? So this is really kind of it goes to the modern world where you actually get badges as you walk through this. There's videos, as you complete it, there's reading, there's all sorts of fun stuff to actually help you get immersed in the program, okay? So it's not just this bunch of supplements, you actually go through this 90-day protocol. You get to track your progress. Now on the doctor side of things, can I just vent for a second? The hardest part for me is that when a patient leaves the door, I have no idea what they're doing. I have no idea what they're doing. In my office, though, as many of you know, I talk to my patients a lot, and I ask a lot of those questions. And some people don't necessarily like that, but I love you, and it's all done out of love. But I want to know what you're eating, and I want to know if you changed your shampoo yet, and I want to know if you've joined the gym yet. I want to know those things and keep tabs on you, because when you're not here at the office, I don't know what you're doing. What's really cool is on my end of things, I can come back here and I can measure your progress. And I can see if your participation is good enough in those areas. If you're not seeing the results, we can come right back here and measure it, okay? Food pyramids, 90-day food, smoothie recipes, videos on the supplements, advanced strategies, all sorts of stuff. Makes my job really, really easy. So that's that, okay? True Cellular Detox, that's that. It blew my mind. Hopefully it did to yours too. Okay, I know that that's a lot of information. I really do, okay? And I just want to make sure I've got literally a couple more slides, but I want to make sure you guys know when you guys go and get a juice, when you guys go and do a 6-day detox, when you go in here and all of the wonderful things that these guys have in here, it's all awesome, right? It's all awesome, but now the bar has been raised for you. We talked about what it looks like at the cell. We talked about upstream. We talked about downstream. The bar has been raised, okay? I'm going to encourage you to keep raising your own bar and your health to improve your health. It's not a matter if those things are going to affect you, it's a matter of when. We have a lot of patients that come into our office that talk about having kids, right? And if there's ever the most important time to do this, ever, in my opinion, is before you have kids. Absolutely before you have kids. Let's give yourself the best chance possible at having a healthy kid. What do you guys think the next best time to do a detox is? No matter if it's this or juice cleanse or whatever, what do you think the next best time is?
Now.
Beautiful. Well said. Beautiful. Okay. Follow-up support. There's a lot of online summits that happen where doctors talk and you can go online and listen to it. Here's the next one. It's called the Detox Project, and you guys can write that down. Dr. Pompa, the guy who put this together, is going to be speaking. Mike Adams, the guy who tested the zeolite. Dr. Mercola, Suzanne Summers, Amy Myers, some really big names. Sayer G is going to be speaking in this. All of these guys are going to be talking about strategies from the bottom. It's very simple, all the way up to what we just talked about and how to implement that into your life wherever you see fit for yourself. That's September 26th to October 3rd, and that is a free event. Very, very cool stuff. The next couple of things, of course, we have Jill sitting up right up in front. Everybody say hi to Jill.
Hi, Jill.
So I told Jill that I was going to have her slide on everything, and the reason why I put her slide on everything is because Jill started a new website called Clean Living Connection, okay? And I love this. How many of you are on Facebook? Raise your hands and don't be ashamed of it. Yes, yes, yes. Facebook is a great tool. It can actually be used as a great tool, but there's a lot of noise in Facebook, okay? A lot of noise like what I ate yesterday or yada, yada. You guys can fill in the blank. So Jill actually, I don't know how she has enough time to do it, but she takes resources and healthy news that is applicable to all of us, mosquitoes and vaccines and water and yada, 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 and pulls them into one place. So there's no noise. I'm going to encourage you guys to go to her website, join the group that she has. It's fantastic. And of course, I expect every single one of you to be at this mosquito talk because it's a big deal, okay? So please, I'm begging for your support, not for me, but for Andreas Roth and David Chapman so that we can make a bigger impact in this town and change this, okay? Thank you guys. God bless. Oh, wait.